a tool where you used to troubleshoot somewhere error, and you told me one thing after you configure that you add the extension maybe to your Chrome or to your Firefox. Always make sure when you run an application like for example, let's say Salesforce, when you capture the SAML request, always click on the one that says SAML. And I noticed most of the time that's going to be on the post, right? Not on get.
Correct.
Okay. Yeah. But those REST APIs code, I've forgotten about them. I know it was like 2021, 203, 201. Maybe
Okay,
something I'll just go back and watch that video. So I'll be good. It's just that since they just called for this interview, so I got a little bit tied up.
Okay, no problem. So definitely I'll try to keep a short class today because I just record from Weaver.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah. And I'll try to we would definitely keep on revisiting those topics while we are doing the APIs, but I just want to understand a few more things before we start on to our API, okay?
Okay.
So I would.
So, Ravi, quick question first. How did we decide? Did we decide Monday through Sunday or Monday through Friday or how did we decide again?
I think it was Monday through Friday. We decided to connect every day. If you are not available someday, you can text me.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So there's going to be no class tomorrow, right?
Tomorrow is Friday, right?
Yes. There's going to be class.
If you are available, I can take it. If you are not available,
no, I'm available. I'm available.
Yeah, then I am available too.
Okay, perfect. Okay,
yeah,
that's good.
Sure. Yeah, so I was going to say the way Okta APIs are designed, they have different API targeting different sections. Okay, so first, the base URL of any API for Okta is HTTPS, your Okta domain. Okay, so if you have registered for your dev tenant, then it can be like HTTPS dev-01234, right? If it's your company Okta, it can be like company.okta.com, right? You have seen this Okta URL at least.
Yes.
Right. So it's like your domain, okta.com, or I'll just say your domain. Your domain itself means everything related to okta.com. Then it has slash, and after slash, you have to specify a specific endpoint. But before you specify the endpoint, you have to tell the Okta that you are executing an API. So that's where you have to use a term called API. You have to tell the version number. So currently Okta only has version 1. The version 2 is still in beta. So we are not using that. We're using version 1. And then you have to say that now in version 1, which particular endpoint of the APIs you want to use. So if you want to use users, you will say users. If you want to use apps API, then you will say apps. For policy, you have policy. There are factors and so on. Okay, there are multiple, but everything will have this as common. So this is a common part. Every URL will have this. So if you see, this one has http dev950.okta.com/API/v1, and after that it's users. If I go to, and we are in the users collection, right? If I go to groups, you will see that it is the same URL, it's just /groups, right? If I go to apps, you will see that it is same URL /apps, right? So this is the base URL. After that, you can have /apps, groups, users, whatever. Now, after this also, if you want to do a further level of nesting, you can have /, you can have app ID, okay? Then this gives you only information about a single app. If you make a call to this endpoint, this is going to give you information about all the apps in your tenant. If you make a call to this endpoint, it is going to give you information about all the users in your tenant, right? But if you only want to know about one specific user, then you do one more slash and you provide the user ID, which is Okta GUID. It is similar to this one. Okay, you can get this from the URL 00A4. It is not the username of Okta. Okay. Once you provided this user ID, then you can get information only about this user. Now, even after this, about this user, you want to know all the apps which is assigned to him and so on. Then you can have something like apps, something like groups, and so on. This third level of nesting is not supported by all the endpoints. You have to review the documentation, but up till here, it is supported by all the endpoints. Okay. So let's see if I want to see list apps assigned to a user. It says, okay, so it does not support that level of filtering. Let's see list groups, group member operation. No, it should be here in user. Get groups for user. Yeah. So this is matching, right, with what my example is. So I have API v1 users as a common part. Then I have passed user ID. So I will get information about all the information about this user, but I only want to know the groups this user is assigned for. So I will just say slash groups, and it is going to give me all the groups this user is assigned for. Okay. So this is a third level of nesting. So you can nest different APIs together, and this is how you will get more information. But this is the base URL. So like in case if you don't have this Postman collection yourself and you want to write or make a call to the APIs, you have to remember that this is the base part. After that, if you just use slash users and pass a user ID, you will be able to get information. So this is one thing. Now different APIs have different method, this get method. So if you see this, all APIs have get method. This has delete method. This has post method. This has delete method. So I have told you in my last session, whenever you just want to read or view information about something, you use the get method. Whenever you want to update something, you use post or put method. Or when you want to create a new thing, you use a post method. Okay. When you want to update something about an application or a user, but you don't want to update everything, you only want to update few information about that user. Let's say you want to modify only the name of the user, but you don't want to modify any other attribute. Then you should always use post as a method, never use put. Because if you use put, then put assumes whatever you have not supplied is blank.
So it updates everything.
So it deletes everything and only updates the name. It's very, very scary. Okay. So always use post method if you're doing this is called as a partial update. If you're doing a partial update, then use post method. If you are doing a full update, then use put method. Okay. And yeah, when you're adding user to a group, you have to use a put method. Remaining, when you assign group to an application, you are using a put method. So this is something which you have to remember. Now, all the APIs will return some response. So every API should give you a status code of 200, which we have discussed. That means okay. Only the groups API, when you assign a user to a group, it gives you no response. When you assign a group to an application, it gives you no response. Okay, so only for assigning a user to a group or group to an application, you get 204 no response. Okay. That means okay, but no content. If you remember, or when you revisit the video which I have shared with you, then you can.
Yes. No, I remember. Yeah.
So this format you have to know. Now in this tool, Postman. So Postman is a tool to make API call, test your APIs, and so on, right? So in Postman, you can arrange these individual API in folders, which is called as collections. Okay. So these folders are called collections. In collections, you can have multiple API bundled together, like what I have here in front of you, right? For this apps. So in apps, I have so many APIs, right? And I have bundled together in a folder called apps. And these folders are called as collection.
So to create a collection, you just click on the plus sign, right?
Yeah. So you, for creating a collection, you click on collections tab here, and then you click on plus sign here, and you can give it a name like my collection or anything. Okay. My collection demo, and just click outside. It is saved. Okay.
Okay.
Now, in order to create a API in this collection, you expand the collection and click on add a request. Once you click on add a request, you can name this also like find user. Okay, whatever you want to name this, and then you enter the URL, method, and all this information, right? Once you do that, you click on save. Then you see that this find user got added. If you want to add.
So when you say you enter the request URL, so that you're getting that from the user, right? From the Okta user.
You have to construct your URL like how I have done. You have to like add like HTTPS dev-1234.okta.com, right? /API/v1. Now, what do you want to do? If you want to find a user, then you have to make a call to users API, right? So in your users API, what is the way to find a user? So we are not saying that get a user and find a user are two different things. Get a user means I want to get a specific user.
Yes.
Find a user is like a search box. I type the name and whatever user I can find with that name. Okay. So in that case, I have to provide something called as a keyword through which I want to search in Okta. So keywords are specified as Q. Okay. So I say Q and then I give a keyword like Suzanne. Then I will get all the users who has this keyword in any of their attributes. Okay. And this will return me values here. So this is how you have to create your API. If you don't know what value to pass where, then you have Okta documentation, right? You can refer to Okta documentation and you can see what value you need to pass. Is this okay to understand, or do you want me to explain?
Please, if you can do it one more time.
Sure. So see, this URL is going to be common, okay, for any API you make in Okta. After this, you have to specify which particular component of Okta you want to make this API executed to. So we are saying, I want to execute this on the users component. Why I'm saying users component? Because I am looking for a user. If I was looking for a group, then I could have said this as a group, right? So if I am looking for a user, I want to find a user who matches with the name Suzanne. I want all the user who has name Suzanne in my Okta tenant. So I'm saying I want to look user and I'm passing a data. I told you anything after question mark is called as a query string. So I'm passing a data. I'm passing Suzanne as a keyword, and keyword are called as Q in Okta. Okay. So whenever you want to search using a keyword, you say Q equals to and whatever keyword you want to type. If you want to type how many Elvis are there in the tenant, you can just say Q equals to Elvis, and you see that this gets updated here.
Yeah.
Okay. So whatever you type in the params tab, it will get added after the question mark. Okay. So if I type something here like limit, so limit is another parameter which tells us how many records should be found. If there are 100 Elvis in my tenant, do I need to show 100 as a response? I only want to see 10 as a response. So I can specify those limits here. So even though there will be hundreds or thousands of Elvis in my Okta tenant, it will only return the first 10. Okay. So this is how you have to construct the API. And once you are satisfied with the values and everything, you just click on save. So that next time you come to this API, these values are all there. Okay. So this is how you create a collection. Now there is another thing called environment. So environment is like a password manager, or it's like a notepad where you enter few information which you're going to use repeatedly. So can you tell me, looking at this collection, if I have hundreds of APIs, what are the information I will be using repeatedly on all those 100 APIs?
You mean like the parameters?
It can be anything. I want to know what are the different information I have to use. How do I make execute a group API? And if I am executing a user API and a group API and an app API, what are the common information I have to pass in each of them?
So your queue, you need to save that in the environment, right? Because you use that often.
Okay.
Maybe limit, if you have maybe like 10,000 users, you want to limit it to like the first 1,000, you can use limit to.
Okay.
I don't know of any other parameters that I can use, query parameters.
So both of these are incorrect, okay? Because your keyword will change based on application, based on groups. Definitely, you're not going to name your group as Elvis. You may have users as Elvis, right? And definitely, whenever you're searching for different users, your keyword has to change. So keeping keyword as a environment variable does not help a lot. Okay. Limit, no. Why would I like to put a limit on an environment variable? Limit is something which I can just type 10, 100,000, right? The common information here is URL. I told you this will be common for all APIs. For groups API, this part will be common, right? This entire till v1/. If it's user API, then you just type users. If it's group API, then you just type group. But this is going to be common for all the APIs. So this will be in my environment variable.
Yes. So okay. So you need to put the URL in your environment. Then after that, you can add users, groups, or application, whatever I want.
Right. Okay. So let's say that if this was in my environment variable and it was called as something called as Okta URL, then I could have just written it like double braces Okta URL. Okay. And hold on. Yeah, like this. And then I could have just, I don't have to then type URL again and again, right? I could have just says for users, use users, for groups, just use groups, and so on. So for me, it's making my life easier, right?
Yeah.
So if I need to make a group call now, I will just create a new collection, like a new request, add a request. I can say like find group. And I can now just copy and paste, and I can just rename this to group. And I, instead of searching for Elvis, I can search for sales, right? So this makes my life easier. So this is a very common information which will be there in each and everything. Now, how do I put this Okta URL in my environment? So I go to environment variable. If you have an environment, if you want to edit an existing environment, then you just click on it and you can see the environment here, right? If you don't have an environment, then you click on plus and you create an environment. So you can say like test environment. And you can then add Okta _ URL, which we created there, right? And you can put any information here, like, sorry, not this, like HTTPS dev-1234.okta.com /API/v1/. So you can put like this, right? And you can just save it. Now, in your collection, whenever you want to use this environment, you have a drop down here. You select the environment which you've created. And if you just hover over the variable, it now reads from your environment, right?
Sure, yeah.
So this is how you make use of Postman. Collection and environment, these are very much important thing you should know how you can use it. If you want to change value in the environment, you click on this quick look icon and you edit, and you can then create a new variable, anything like key, anything, and you can put the value, or you can also edit these values. Okay. One thing you should remember is always Postman will read the current value. It will not read the initial value. Okay. So whatever is in the current value, that is your main value.
Okay, so you don't look at the initial value.
Let's say I want to add another request for app. and I want to know yeah, I want to know, I want to list all the apps in my Okta tenant. What will be my request URL?
Okta_dev.
Like this.
Yes.
No.
Oh,
Always.
Okta_dev.
No, always you have to refer to your environment variable using these two curly braces. Okay. And then you have to refer to the variable name within these two curly braces. Okay, now go ahead.
Then you put in your ID.
Whose ID?
The environment ID.
What environment ID?
Oh, it's already initiated over here. So now you put in your version, then the group, your version, then the apps.
I want to list all the application in my Okta. So what will be my URL? What will be my parameters? Tell me all those.
Oh. Okay. Your parameters is going to be Q.
Q. Why Q?
Your key.
When will keyword come?
Okay, Q is for users.
No. What is Q?
What's going on? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. What is Q?
For some reason, I cannot see your screen again. It just, let me see. Just 1 minute.
No, I am sharing.
Okay. Yes. No, it was, I think it was me. Something just happened. Yeah. Q is for, was it for, was it for,
What is the importance of Q?
Was it for find?
Find what?
Find users?
Q is not going to find anything. Q is providing information of whom to find. API is going to find the users or whatever, right? So what is Q?
Q is for provide information.
Yeah, but what information? What is that called?
It calls for, it can call anything in the value, maybe users, groups, apps.
Q is called as keyword, right?
You said what?
It is called as keyword.
Oh, keyword. Yeah.
Okay. When do you want to supply a keyword when you are searching for something?
Yes.
Right. What is my question here? I want to know all the apps. I am not searching for any specific app. I want to know all the apps in my system. So why
we
will
need to use
keyword come into the picture?
So we need to do find.
That's the thing I want you to answer. How do I list all the application from my Okta tenant? Find is again like searching using a keyword. I don't want to find. I want to list all the application. You have 100 application, list 100 application. You have 1,000 application, list 1,000 application. I am not saying, okay, list application start with Salesforce. No, I'm not saying that. That's when you start to use Q or keyword, right? I'm not saying all those scenarios. My question is simple. List all the application.
Okay, so we'll do get, right? To list all the application.
Okay. Why do we use get and not post?
get and not post.
You there?
Yeah, I think I forgot about that.
Okay, when you're listing an application, are you modifying it?
No, you're not modifying anything.
Right, you are just reading it, right?
Yes.
So that is why you're using get. Get is always used whenever you're just reading or viewing the information, when you're not touching that information in any sense, right? So you use get. So that is why we are going to use get here. We are only reading it, reading all the apps. Okay, now just tell me the URL. Which URL should I make a call? What should be my request URL?
Wait, what do you mean again?
What should be my request URL? Which endpoint of Okta should I make a call to list all the application?
I can't think of that.
We just seen, right? Whenever we have to make a call, we have to use the common part, which is like our Okta domain /API to indicate we want to use API v1. Then for apps, you use apps. For groups, you use groups. For users, you use users, and so on, right? So what will we use here? What do we want to do?
We want to get apps, so we'll use our API version 1, then we put in the apps.
Yes, so we are going to put apps because we want to list all the apps.
Yes.
If you do not specify anything further, that means itself you want to see all the apps in the tenant. So this will give you all apps. Okay. If I copy this and I want to get a single app.
Are you sharing another screen?
No, I'm sharing the same.
Oh, okay. No, I'm just making sure.
Okay, I think you can see now, right?
Oh, okay. Oh, okay. Now I can see the notepad. Yes.
Okay. So when you make a call to /apps, then you get all the application. Okay. And when you want to receive a single application, then you have to provide /app ID. So this gets you only a single application. So if I want to list all the application, I will make /apps. That's it, right? And it will give me all the application. And this will be get. Is this clear?
Yes.
If I want to list all the groups, then
it needs to be /groups instead of apps.
If I want to list a single group, then
I need to put the group ID.
Like this?
Yes. Group ID, yes.
Okay, I want to see groups assigned to a single user.
Groups assigned to a single user. Groups assigned to a single user. So after groups, I think you need to put the user ID.
If I put a user ID after groups, you're saying like this, right? No. Groups API cannot accept a user ID. It has to accept only a group ID. User API cannot accept a group ID. It only has to accept user ID. So here you can only have group ID.
But we're trying to look for a particular user right now. So the user is going to go before the groups.
Okay. Users. Okay. What else?
So if we're looking for a particular user, then if we have users, it means we're supposed to have user ID, then group comes out later, right?
So I pass user ID, then what?
Group.
Then I say groups.
Mhm,
Okay.
mhm.
I'm not passing any group ID because I want all the groups assigned to this user, right?
Yeah. Mhm.
Correct. So this is the way we create these URLs. Is this clear to you now?
Yeah.
All right. If I want all the apps assigned to this user,
Mhm.
how do I do that?
If we want all the apps assigned to this user, we just need to change that groups to apps.
Correct. If I want to search a user whose name contains Katrina,
Mhm.
how do I search that?
So we need to do that using our keyword. So under the key, we're gonna do Q, then under value, we'll put in the name Katrina.
Okay, like this.
Yes.
So is this clear? Is this like correct?
Yes.
Sure.
Okay, no, we need to take out the groups because we're searching for Katrina. We're doing general search, right?
Okay, so if I take out groups, you're saying this is
Yeah.
right.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
Yes.
This is right. 100%.
Mm-hmm.
No, this is not right. Because you are searching for a user called Katrina. How do
Mm-hmm.
you know the user ID already when you're searching with the keyword?
Keyword, that should. Yeah.
When you specify a user ID, then this API is only going to return you one single user, whatever this user ID is. How can you search for Katrina in that user?
Yeah, if you put in user ID, means you already know the user, right?
Yeah. So it should be like this. So that is why it was incorrect.
Mm. User skill, secure.
Is this now clear?
Yeah, I'm getting it. I think by the time I watch the video 1, 2 times.
If I want to list all the apps, which is Salesforce,
Mhm.
what should I do?
If you want to list all the apps, which is Salesforce, so Salesforce, so our value is going to be Salesforce. Then where we have users, we're going to replace it with apps.
Correct.
Yes. Correct?
Yeah, correct.
Okay.
If I want to search for all the apps which contains Salesforce,
Mm-hmm.
but I only want to see 5 applications,
Mm-hmm.
what should I do?
We're going to add our limit,
Okay.
keyword limit.
Okay.
Then we indicate 5 for our value.
Okay. Is this
Yes.
correct?
Yes.
Okay. If I want to search for apps which starts with sales,
If we want to search for apps which starts with sales, apps which start with sales. So we're going to remove everything. from that first to day 5.
Mhm.
And we'll change our value for our keyword to be sales instead of Salesforce, right? So we can
No,
uncheck the link.
we can uncheck limit definitely, because I'm not saying I only want 5 apps. This will change from queue to something called a filter. Okay, there's a filter keyword which does filter on few attributes, and the attribute which defines an application name is called as label. Okay, so I can say label start with is SW. So SW means starts with, and I can say sales.
So where can I see all these keywords?
You can see all this keyword in Okta documentation. So if you go to Okta API, okay, and you go to apps, users, whichever. So apps, users, and groups, they support these kind of keywords, right? So like if you go to application operation, so you are going to list application, right? So here you will see list applications with default, list application assigned to a user group, list application by name. If you go by name, then you can see there is a filter keyword, right? So you can then see the examples of filter equals to name, EQ. EQ is again equals to, okay, workday. So this is going to give you all the application which has the name workday. So these are the different keywords. Again, for application, I think it's only filter which you have. For users, if you go to for users, then you also have something called search users. Okay, and if you go to list users, user operation, list user. Yeah, when you go to list user, see you have find user with Q, which you have seen, right? List user with filter, like how we have seen now for app. Then there is something called list user with search. Now, the difference between search and filter is filter only supports few attribute, okay? Like first name, last name, email address, display name. It does not support all the attribute. But if you want to search user with any attribute which filter does not support, then you can use search. The syntax is going to be same. It's just that search can search with any attribute and filter can only search with few attributes. Okay. If you see filter user with a supported expression or a subset of properties, Okta recommends using this using the search parameter, and search user with a supported filtering expression for most properties. Okay. So you have to follow this documentation and it will tell you what are the different things which you can use to get the same value. Clear?
Yeah.
So was this cool?
Yeah. It just shows I just need to put a lot of effort.
A little bit of effort, like you see, you don't need to know a lot in detail. I'm explaining that in detail for you, but you don't need to know in this detail for Okta Workflows. Why I'm explaining in this detail is when you encounter an error in Okta Workflows, then you need to know this information.
Yes. And you need to know where to go check.
Correct. So tomorrow also we'll do the same thing, APIs, and day after tomorrow, which is like Monday, we will start with workflow.
Okay.
Okay. So your job for today is as an assignment to go to Okta developer, download the Postman collections, install Postman, try different APIs and see what parameter is being passed, what URL it is calling, and so on. Okay. Especially group API, app API, and user API. These three are very important.
Group API, app API, and user API. Okay.
Yes. Others you will not use on daily basis, but these you will use every day, day in,
Okay.
day out. Okay.
Okay. Okay. So Postman, I just go to I just Google like the regular Postman and
Yeah.
click
So
in
you
like
can
the first.
click on like download Postman,
Mhm.
and it will take you to the Postman website where you can just click on Windows. Okay. And it will download it and you can install it. After installing it, you have to sign in or sign up, whatever. Okay.
Okay.
And after that, you have to go to Google, type Okta Postman collection. This will take you to this website. And from here, you can download apps API. You click on run in Postman and click on Postman for Windows. It will download a file in your Postman. Okay.
And it says it automatic.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, or you can also download users.
Okay.
Okay. So if you download users, click on Postman for Windows. It says, do you want to open Postman? Select open Postman. It then asks you for which workspace. You will only have one workspace when you install it new. So you will have only called team workspace or my workspace like this. Okay. I'll just say that I'm going to use training workspace and click on import. It will add it to the training workspace. So you'll see a user API got added.
Okay.
And if you expand this API, you can see all the APIs.
Okay.
Similarly, you can do that for app. You can do that for any API which you can see here. Ignore the identity engine and limited GA because that is not available to you. Apart from that, you can use any other APIs. Okay. So that is your assignment, to create few users with API, create few groups with API, assign users into groups, assign group to the application, and so on. Okay. All right. So if you have any question, you can ask me now. Otherwise, we can again connect tomorrow. I'm leaving you early because you have an interview to prepare.
Yeah. I just no, so far